Technology, weapons of mass distraction. So what do I mean by when I say that? Well, technology, like everything else, has its good and bad sides. Certainly advancements in technology have helped to improve the quality of people's lives, but at the same time, there's a downside to it in the fact that it's also detracted from the quality of people's lives as well. And it's certainly changed the paradigm in which people perceive reality, or at least what people perceive reality to be. So, for example, let me discuss this movie called Her. I think it came out last year with Joaquin Phoenix, and the movie takes place in this futuristic Los Angeles, whereby people have technology advanced to such a degree that there's artificial intelligence has been developed in operating systems, so people have relationships with operating systems. So in the movie, Joaquin Phoenix has a girlfriend who is an operating system, an OS. So as ludicrous as that sounds, that is not far off from what is going on today. So for example, if you look at the relationships people have on Facebook, even though I'm not on Facebook, I know that people have thousands of friends on Facebook. Now, people have all types of virtual relationships with cyber friends. But if you subtract it from a lot of people's friends lists, people that they have not actually interacted with either via phone call, I'm not talking text message or anything like that, actual phone call or seeing in person in the last 6 months, meaning you have some kind of human interaction, hearing their voice, or meeting up with him or her personally, you would find that hundreds if not thousands of people's friends on the friends list would disappear. So I think by any stretch of the imagination, anyone would say if you consider someone a friend, you should at a minimum be seeing them twice a year. I think that's like a minimum definition. That's like a marginal friend. So you could consider a lot of these people that have no contact in 6 months through a personal phone call or a personal visit as an acquaintance, maybe. And certainly you can develop relationships online, but I think it's absurd to think of such people as friends. The other reason I say that technology also has a downside to the upside it provides, because certainly, say, the internet is great, right? Because you can connect with people all over the world that you couldn't connect with before. You can spread information very easily. But on the flip side of that, say if you look at YouTube and you check out what the top 10 most viewed channels are, most of them are adding nothing towards someone's quality of life. A lot of these channels that are the most viewed cater to the lowest common denominators. So in a lot of ways, YouTube has become the theater of the absurd. So I'm sure I could do something where I was making an ass of myself in front of iconic landmarks all around the world, and I'm sure those videos would get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, as long as I was doing something in a humorous way that didn't make anyone think at all. But the videos that tend to make people think tend to get a lot less views. So another way I think that technology has become a weapon of mass distraction, again, is how it has changed the paradigms of how people think about things. Like if you asked 1 million Americans today, is the U.S. at war? Probably, I would bet you can count on both hands. No more than 10 people would say yes, even though the U.S. is constantly droning Yemen, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Somalia. So those are at least 4 countries we're at war with. Because think of, say, if Russia sent 1 drone to the U.S. and then bombed a house to kill someone they consider a terrorist and killed 12 innocent civilians, the Americans say that's an act of war. Undoubtedly, without doubt, 100%. It's an act of war. We're at war with Russia. But yet, the U.S. can send a drone to Yemen. This has happened. They killed 12 civilians and nothing. No one thinks we're at war with Yemen, or no one thinks we're at war with, say, Pakistan. Whereas in Pakistan, you could look at studies that were conducted by New York University, NYU, Stanford University, and Columbia University in New York. So these were studies that three American universities conducted, and they discovered at least 6,000 civilians have been killed in one region. I think it's called Waziristan, one region in Pakistan. So even those Huffington Post reports you get of 24,000 civilian casualties, or civilian murders, because that's basically what it is, civilian murders in 5 years, is highly, highly underestimated because the military doesn't track it. So it's up to independent journalists or other humanitarian organizations that go in and document with photographs, document by talking to people who have had their whole families murdered, how many people have been murdered by drone strikes. So they have concluded, those 3 studies, at least 6,000 murdered in one region in Pakistan through drone strikes and U.S. drone strikes. So the crazy thing is that because people look at this as a sanitary way of conducting war, you don't have to have any soldier casualties, you don't have to send in troops on the ground, you can just drop bombs from the sky. That is not war, but it is war. And that's one way, again, technology has served as weapons of mass distraction. Because if you look at that NYU, Stanford University study, they actually teamed up with the British humanitarian organization, let me find the study, called Reprieve. And Reprieve reported that, quote-unquote, an entire region is being terrorized by the constant threat of death from the skies. Their way of life is collapsing. Kids are too terrified to go to school. Adults are afraid to attend weddings, funerals, business meetings, or anything that involves gathering in groups. Yet there is no end in sight, and nowhere the ordinary men, women, and children of northwest Pakistan can go to feel safe. So that is just ridiculous. In fact, they said there's a whole generation of children in this region that's growing up with post-traumatic stress disorder. So I will put links, plenty of links down below if you're watching this on YouTube, so please check it out. And you can go look at all the articles that reference the facts that I am telling you in this video. And as well, like I mentioned earlier, that the internet is great because it gives us access to all kinds of people in many, many different countries that we didn't have access to before. But the problem with that today as well is the fact, on the flip side, the negative side, is the fact that now technology can be used to spy on everyone. As you see that the Cisco, one of Cisco's chief executives, his name was John Chambers, has reportedly, allegedly wrote a very, very angry letter to President Obama and urging him to stop sending their routers to the NSA to implant spyware before shipping it overseas, because the story leaked and broke. I believe it was the former Guardian journalist Glenn Greenwald that broke the story. And since then, Cisco's international sales have plummeted. Check out this picture. Now that is a real book, believe it or not. And it was published in 1957, so just a little over 50 years ago. Yes, you could travel through Europe on $5. You know, euro didn't even exist back then, so that is $5, not €5 a day. So, you know, if you go back to the 1920s in the US and look at food prices, a pound of beef rib roast cost 39 cents a pound. A pound of chicken cost 39 cents a pound. A pound of cheese cost, how much? I believe it was somewhere in the same price range, around 42 cents a pound or something like that. And this was in New York, one of the most expensive cities in the entire country. Now, if you look today, you go to Costco's website today, how much does a pound of beef rib roast cost? It costs anywhere from $9.99 to lower cuts to $16.99 a pound for prime cuts. So even at the low end cut, $9.99, that means the price of beef rib roast in just one generation has gone up about 25.5 times. That is insane. A pound of chicken now costs like somewhere between like $5.50 to $6 a pound. So that's gone up like 14.5 times in one generation. So if you look at these costs, and of course you cannot travel in Europe for $5 a day anymore. So if you look at how ridiculous our monetary system is, and who is responsible for these massive rates of inflation in the thousands of percent in one generation, it is central banks. But people don't understand this. People don't understand that central banks are destroying every economy and every country in the world. So if you're middle class and have basically sunk into the class of the poor, or it used to be upper class and now sunk into middle class, don't fall victims to these banking, government, artificial propaganda that they're spreading, that, oh, it's immigrants taking your jobs, or, you know, they try to spread hate, and against, they try to target some group that's not responsible and make you hate them, instead of understanding that they are the culprits that are responsible for this. So in that sense, again, the fact that for all of us truth seekers out there that try to promote liberty, freedom through sound money, we have a huge uphill battle that we face because of the fact that propaganda and disinformation can be spread so easily through the internet. So that's why I always urge you to share all my videos with as many people as possible if you're learning something new, because we need to counter that disinformation by also making the truth go viral as well. So that's the message for today. And as always, remain intensely curious. Until next time, so long.